This is Charlie Kurtz from Kurtz Farms, and we farm in Henry County, Ohio, and we farm corn, beans, tomatoes, and this is my wife, Donna. She's helped on the farm since we've been married, and this is my oldest son, Jason, our middle son, Brad, and our youngest son, Kevin. My great-grandfather came to this country from Germany in 1865. In 1870, he bought an 80-acre farm in the Black Swamp of northwest Ohio. He would come from Cleveland in the spring and try to clear trees and started farming. He didn't have a lot of success the first few years, and he decided he would return one more time. And they were starting to drain the swamp. They were using tile and cutting ditches, and that's when he decided to stay and move and build a home and stayed on the farm year-round. My grandfather, George, he took over when Martin became too old, and George farmed it for just a few years. He passed away quite young, but George and Katie had 6 kids. One of them would have been my father, Carlton Kurtz. My dad and my uncle Arnold started farming together after the war, and they partnered for a while, and then finally they went their own ways. And my father raised a few tomatoes after the war, and the 80 acres at that time had probably 6 or 7 different fields in it. I mean, it was small. Everything was a lot smaller. My father was a World War II veteran. He passed away in 1962. I turned 13 about a month after my father passed. That's when I kind of took over the farm. My son Jason and I went to an auction, and we run into a young fellow that was buying tomato equipment, and we asked him who he's going to grow for, and he told us Red Gold. Well, my son wanted to get back in the tomato business, so sure enough, a week later, we were in the office at Red Gold signing a contract for tomatoes. Over the years, labor was hard to find. We went from hand sorting to electronic sorting. That helped a lot. And then labor still kept getting harder to find. So about 3 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, we found a company that made a robotic tomato planter. It would take the trays, it'd take one person, put a tray on the machine, and it would automatically put that tomato plant from that tray into the ground. It was made over in Belgium, and we had bought one and had one shipped over here. We are the last surviving growers in Henry County, Ohio. Whether that's good or not, I don't know.
So in the spring of 21, we were coming out of COVID, and well, everybody knows labor is getting hard to find. And of course, through the internet and YouTube, you've seen these planters in Europe. They were automatic, robotic planters, if you call them that. And he runs the tomato planter, Brad does. He went up to a local dealer that sells the harvesters. He goes, why can't we get these in the United States? And it wasn't out yet, but they were actually becoming a dealer at that time. And they sold one to the company. Then we ordered one in what, March?
No, we ordered it January, Martin Luther King Day.
Martin Luther King Day, we ordered a planter from Belgium. They had to get to the United States by first week of May. We were the first grower to buy one in the Midwest. There's a few in Canada and one on the West Coast and one on the East Coast. We were the first ones in the Midwest farmer to buy one.
Well, we were pretty desperate for labor at the time because we used high school help during COVID, and that worked, but it just couldn't get the acres done we needed to. So when we seen this planter, and actually the year before, me and Jason went to New Jersey to look at the one in New Jersey. So we knew it worked, but we pretty much bought it with the assumption that it'll work in our environment. It has to work because we just had no labor.
And the worst part was Red Gold wasn't sold on it if it worked or not, so they weren't. So it's kind of a risk. I guess our first step into precision technology was the auto steer. The dealer come out. That's when dealer came out with the ATU. Want to know if we'd be interested in doing a demo. Said, sure, no problem. Bring a demo up. I think we were pre-planting hyders at the time or something like that. Put it on, Dad's doing it, put it on a tractor. He come back, says, that's the way to do it. This is nice. Says, get a price on it. We'll see where it goes. Came back with the price. I think it was $7,500, $8,000, and he threw a fit. I can hold a steering wheel for that kind of money for years. So, okay, so we kind of dropped it. That same fall, the dealer called back up, says, hey, can I bring that auto steer ATU out and put it on your combine? Sure, we'll try it. Dad was around the combine doing beans, put the ATU on there, came back. He come back at him and says, order it, I'm sold. So within 3 months, he changed his mind pretty quick. So that's pretty much the start of our adoption of new technology on the farm there. It's went from auto steer all the way up to what we're doing, variable planting. And
The first thing I remember driving was 4020. I remember as a kid just sitting on that tractor trying to figure the gear shifter out and how that worked to get in the right gear. But the first field work I ever really done is probably running tractor and dump cart in the tomato fields.
my first memory of running anything, going back to that, we used to plant tomatoes back in the early 70s with D17. I was probably 2nd grade, something like that, and I'd be taking along the field. D17 wasn't power steering. At that time, we raised them on raised beds. And my job was, Dad would set me on a tractor and says, okay, you hold the steering wheel, make sure it stays in these trenches. And the D17 had a hand clutch, so we would get the end, pull the hand clutch back. We'd have somebody jump on there, turn the planter around, set you back on it. I mainly just steered the planter through the field. And then as it grew up, that's when everybody cultivated, so 2510, 4020, running cultivator, row crop cultivating. That's how we pretty much started. I started.